In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a simple, delicious macaroni and cheese. I'm going to start with 4 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to melt that in a large saucepan or pot. I'm going to make sure that I have equal parts flour, because what I'm making here, butter and flour, is something called a roux, and that roux is what's going to thicken my milk. And basically, before you add the cheese, you're making a white sauce or a bechamel sauce, which is just simply a roux thickened milk sauce. I want to make sure that the butter doesn't brown. If the butter browns, it'll discolor the sauce. And now I'm going to add in my flour. And I'm going to cook the roux paste and make sure there are no lumps. I'm going to very slowly add in my milk. And for my milk, I have 3 cups of fat-free milk. You could use whole milk, but we're already adding butter and lots of cheese, so we'll cut down on the calories where we can. Okay, so you see that thickened up quite a bit. And you want to do this over medium heat. The reason why you add it slowly is if you add it all at once, all that cold liquid, or even if you have this at room temperature, the liquid just separates the roux and it can become lumpy. If you do it slowly, it's easier to avoid lumps. Now, milk will scorch very easily, so it's important once you make this sauce, you need it to come to a boil so that you can see that it's thick, but you want to make sure to be stirring all the time so that you don't get that scorching and that burn on the bottom, because those pieces will dislodge from the bottom of the pan. They'll make everything taste smoky and you'll have what looks like pepper all over the pan. So meanwhile, I have water boiling for 3 cups of elbow pasta, which I have here, but you could use any shape, any tubular shape that you want that will hold the sauce very nicely. And I love to use whole wheat pasta for this, or whole grain. So I'm even going to lower this just a little bit. And what I have is 8 slices of deli American. Now, a lot of macaroni and cheese recipes call for all cheddar, and I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that for flavor, and also cheddar is an aged cheese that when it melts, it gets really grainy. So I'm just going to chop these up. And this is not a very, very thick white sauce because it's going to thicken quite a bit from the cheese. And then I also want 1.5 cups of cheddar cheese. All right, so I'm bubbling here. So once I'm bubbling, I know that I've come up to full thickening. And you can test this by checking on the back of a spoon. See how it holds its line? It's thick enough. I'm going to sprinkle in my American cheese, and I have my heat on the lowest possible right now. Okay, and now I'm going to add my cheddar. You're going to boil your pasta for whatever the package directions say. So mine says 10 minutes. So my sauce comes together quicker than it takes to boil the pasta. Now, we have a lot of cheese in there, obviously, macaroni and cheese, but we also have a lot of milk, and milk doesn't have a tremendous amount of flavor on its own, so we have to make sure to season this as well. So I'm going to start with 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to shut my heat now because everything's melting beautifully. Okay, so in one sentence, I say that I like to keep everything very classic and simple with my macaroni and cheese flavors, but then I'm also going to suggest that you throw in some sort of green vegetable. One thing that many of my students have really learned to love in this recipe is dinosaur kale or lacinato kale. I'm just taking the leaves off of the hard stem, and I'm not going to blanch this or boil it first because then I'm going to lose all of the nutritional value into that cooking water. Now I'm going to cut this into big pieces. I'm going to cut this into bigger pieces than it probably should be because just in case there's someone that doesn't like it and it needs to be picked out, I keep it bigger. But you can go a little bit smaller. And I'm going to put that right in, and I'm going to let this wilt right in my hot cheese sauce. And once that cooks down, I'm gonna add my cooked pasta, which I did not rinse after I cooked it. And again, you wanna be careful that you're not burning the sauce. All right, my kale has wilted down, and even if there's somebody in your family that definitely would never eat anything green inside their macaroni and cheese, the nutrients have leached into the sauce. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of something into it. I'm gonna add my pasta, and the 3 cups really cooks up to quite a bit. So although it seems like a lot of sauce and a lot of cheese, remember this makes a very big batch. And there you go, a simple macaroni and cheese, classic flavor, half American, half cheddar, with some good for you greens.